I believe we've actually got rid of the echo. At least I don't hear any echo on this end, so I hope there's no echo on your end. Today's title, as you can see, is The Heart of the Question. Shirley Chisholm, who was the first Black woman ever to be elected to the US Senate in, I believe, 1968, said, in Unbought and Unbossed, racism is so universal in this country, so widespread and deep-seated, that it is invisible because it is so normal. And that was Shirley Chisholm. Ernest Holmes says an absolute unexpressed has no reality. An absolute unexpressed has no reality. And that was in Ernest Holmes at Asilmar. And the book, I do have it, it's a pretty thick tome actually, and that's on page 287. And that's probably not even halfway through the book. So what does he mean by an absolute unexpressed has no reality? Maybe the easiest way is to talk about Plato's ideas, where he said that everything that you see in the physical universe has got a spiritual idea at the back of it. But until that spiritual idea comes into being in the actual physical world, then it doesn't have any reality of its own. It's kind of an idea. Another way you might look at it is in the quantum field, that things exist as probabilities until a mind is focused on them. And when the mind is focused on them, they undergo what is called a quantum collapse, which means that they come into physical reality. So either of those two. So in other words, you could look at it even a third way, and this is an idea is just an idea until it's actually put into practice. So maybe that's the easiest way to look at it. An idea is just an idea until it's put into practice. And our writer this month, Reverend Andriette, says, it is certain that in the exact moment a baby takes its first breath, someone somewhere is simultaneously releasing their final breath. She says, in a similar fashion, I have taken the liberty of connecting two major historical events that took place on June 11th, 1963. The first in Washington, D.C., and the second in Jackson, Mississippi. She goes on to say, that year was a key time in the civil rights movement, and President Kennedy was focused on the ever-increasing number and size of demonstrations and the violent backlash from white supremacists and segregationists. We saw photos of black children attacked by dogs and blasted with high-pressure fire hoses. When Governor George Wallace blocked the doorway of the University of Alabama to prevent two black students' entry, Kennedy knew civil rights legislation was necessary. He decided to speak to the nation about this. The heart of the question is, he said, whether all Americans are to be afforded equal rights and equal opportunities, whether we're going to treat our fellow Americans as we want to be treated. If an American, because his skin is dark, cannot eat lunch in a restaurant open to the public, if he cannot send his children to the best public school available, if he cannot vote for the public officials who will represent him, in short, he cannot enjoy the full and free life which we all want, then who among us would be content to have the color of his skin changed and stand in his place? Of course, he used the male gender back then because that was the norm. Nowadays, we would make it gender non-specific. He goes on to say, this is Kennedy, who among us would then be content with the counsels of patience and delay? She ends with saying, the next morning, the news reported the assassination of Medgar Evers, and he was a black student who was murdered, and the first trial resulted in the judges not convicting him, but then later on new evidence came. There were white judges, all white judges. But then about 20 years later, he was tried again, and this time he was convicted. So the message here is pretty clear, and it doesn't need me to explain it. In fact, I think all it needed me to explain was Holmes talking about absolute being unexpressed as no reality. I think the rest of it's pretty clear. Yes, we've come quite a ways from then, but it still isn't a place where everybody is considered equal. Black people are definitely, in a lot of places, not treated equally. The law requires them to be treated equally, doesn't always work, and you can see that all the time on TV. To a lesser extent, that applies to Black people. It also applies to Native Americans. It also applies in areas where poor people are treated badly simply because they're poor. The bottom line is this: if we truly believe in what the Constitution says, that all people are created equal, then let's all work towards creating a system that underscores that and guarantees it, and that anybody can feel free to walk around without being in danger of assassination simply because of either the color of their skin or their religion or their gender or any other thing that makes them, quote, different, unquote. That's really all I got to say about this. The affirmation is, I embrace and respond to the heart of the question. I embrace and respond to the heart of the question. I put up that you can get more information from us at info@creativelife.org. If you go on our YouTube or a Facebook page, Creative Life Spiritual Center, you can watch our service from this morning that took place at 11 o'clock. Went on quite a bit, but there was actually a wonderful poem in there, self-written poem, by one of our practitioners, Daniel Mercadal, who is our former chairman of the board, or chairman of the board of trustees, to be more precise. And also tomorrow morning, you can listen to Reverend Lisa. You can watch and listen to Reverend Lisa, who is one of my co-assistant ministers there. We both work for Reverend Dr. Jesse Jennings, our senior minister, and she'll be on at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. And then again, tomorrow evening, I'll be back at somewhere around about 5 o'clock. Oh, tomorrow, yes, I should be, because it's President's Day. Work should not get in the way. It's a pleasure always doing these readings. I love doing the readings. I would like some feedback. What do you think about these readings? And also, if you like us, please give us a like on whatever media you're seeing us on, whether it's Facebook, whether it's YouTube, and shortly it will be on Instagram. And we're going to just keep adding more channels. So once again, take care of yourselves, especially take care of yourselves. And until next time, namaste.